Hi, I'm Shelly and this is my YouTube channel AI Economics. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence and I teach AI concepts decoded with a business lens. And if you're interested in this kind of content, please do consider subscribing to my channel. In this particular series of videos that I'm making is basically to tell you about is geared towards business managers and people with a slightly less technical orientation, how they can use generative AI models to create their own applications. The first video in this series was an introduction to the generative AI models, what they can do and how they can be used. In this second video, I'm asking an equally relevant and a very important question. If generative AI models are so great, why aren't we seeing more applications being used? What we hear is that various corporates are experimenting with generative AI models. We should have seen some things being rolled out now, given how impactful it is likely to be. So this suggests that there are some watchouts to this technology. And those watchouts are not just important for other corporates, they're important for you to understand when you create your models as well. So let's just jump to it. So why are our models not being used? There are two broad issues. The first one is data quality and the second is data privacy. In terms of data quality, the main issue is that of the model's tendency to hallucinate or make up data, essentially to come up with factually incorrect responses. Now, this is a huge issue for any corporate organization when they are setting up their generative AI applications. Imagine you set up a chatbot to talk to customers and it is giving responses to queries which are actually made up and are not necessarily factual or accurate. We have to understand. So this is an important problem and we need to understand how it can be addressed. The second issue which corporates are concerned with is that of data privacy. Companies want to ensure that their data, a very valuable asset to them, remains private. It represents their competitive edge. And do not want it to be inadvertently shared out via the training parameters, via the fact that the parameters of the model have been trained on their data. Now, data privacy is an issue I will address in a subsequent video. In this video, I'm going to focus on the hallucination problem. So let's first understand why these models are not being used more. Now, first thing to understand is that a large language model is a gigantic model which has been trained on with billions of parameters, which has been trained on vast quantities of text, approximately 420 GB for ChatGPT, for example, 3.5. Now, where does this data come from? It is basically the internet data, it's your websites which can be accessed, it's your Reddit forums, it's your Wikipedia and all kinds of other sources. Obviously, OpenAI and Google and Anthropic, etc. do try and clean up the data. However, it is not possible to really make it squeaky clean. Things do get through. So that's one point to be noted. However, the data, having the model being trained on this huge corpus means that the model becomes linguistically very strong. It learns the patterns of natural language very well. Let's now understand why it might be a little less effective in answering questions. Now, suppose a company decides to choose ChatGPT as an HR chatbot. Great idea. Instead of having your HR executives being bothered by, employee queries. Well, suppose an employee types in a query, how many days of PL am I entitled to? This goes to the HR chatbot, which sends it to the LLM. Now the LLM checks around in its parameters. In one Reddit forum, for example, it may have seen a value of 40 days for the PL leaves as part of some discussion. In another forum, it might have seen 23 days, again as part of a discussion. On a Wikipedia page, it may have seen 37 days. So on the basis of all this, ChatGPT answers to the query is 38 to 40 days. Unfortunately, this is not correct. The employee is disappointed, loses faith in the HR chatbot, and decides they're not going to waste time asking the chatbot anything. So this, I am afraid, is the sad trajectory of a generative AI application in a corporate context when there is a small tendency to hallucinate. Now, obviously, this problem is something which both OpenAI, Google, and other companies in this area are working furiously to solve, and there are workarounds. So how do we get around this? Now, there are two basic solutions. One is what is called fine-tuning, and the second one is called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. Now, what is fine-tuning? Fine-tuning is basically once your large language model is trained, you take the last few layers of the LLM and retrain them to your specific corpus. This is known as fine-tuning, and it is very expensive and time-consuming. For example, you could train the model on your company's specific HR documents, and it would then be in a position to answer employee queries in a much more accurate fashion. Another con, apart from the fact that it is expensive and time-consuming and technically difficult, is the fact that a company's private information is getting encoded into ChatGPT, and there is no real way to unencode it right now. OpenAI, for example, promises firewalls for company data. However, if you're a company and for really sensitive private data, you may or may not wish to take this risk. So this is not really a solution which relatively fewer companies are opting for. The second solution is RAG, and this is a lot more popular and promising approach. Now, essentially what RAG does is it creates a database of your company's specific documents. For example, your HR corpus. These documents are then made available to ChatGPT or the LLM to read and use as part of query resolution. So essentially what happens is that when a new query comes in, ChatGPT will use that query to try and search out documents which are similar to that particular query and essentially answer it. On the basis of the retrieved documents, ChatGPT is then able to frame up a much more relevant answer and respond to the employee using its natural language understanding and text generation capabilities. This solution is so simple, but it has the beauty that it uses ChatGPT's natural language capabilities and user friendliness along with the accuracy, which is by building in accuracy in responses by making sure that the model is restricted to the company specific documents. This is a popular solution and is being used, and is the one that we will also be using to implement our generative AI applications further down in this video series. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to my channel AI Economics. Look forward to seeing you in the next video in this series.